Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, October 11th, 2024. Can I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards in our 5-card spread. We have here our Four of Swords in its reversal in combination with our 7 of Swords and it's upright. Oh, okay, it's gonna be one of those days. Let's go through it, my friends. So, what are we seeing happening here? This is giving a lot. I'm not surprised to see this as well, because one of the things I like to point out, eclipse seasons, which we're just coming out of, they're very expansive experiences, right? It's a lot, like all of this energy that comes forward to a certain extent. And that sense of being able to see something in a bigger way, it allows for breakthroughs. It allows for clarity. It also can be very frustrating because it can take the things that are a little bit annoying, the things that are a little bit problematic, and they can magnify them as well. But the important thing that we're seeing that is happening right now, a lot of this energy is feeling somewhat regressive right now. There's a lot of looking back upon the past. There's a lot of that sense or that state right now of feeling, I want to say like, there's a little bit of a feeling of like timing being off to a certain extent. But a lot of it I think is really important right now because a lot of this is effectively amplifying a sense of how far you have come. And this is going to have different impacts depending on where you find yourselves in the frequency cycle. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, a lot of this work is being experienced as a feeling of frustration in relationality to what it energetically takes to be able to maintain a point of balance. Why are we seeing that right now? Because for a lot of that energy, that feeling of the landscape changing to a certain extent, having to do that work, this is the energy that is working through those feelings of frustration in relationality to what feels like it creates energetic balance. And so even here, we've been talking and we've been seeing that moment of breaking through and innovation. Because for a lot of the energy that we're seeing right now that is moving forward, that sense or that space of requiring change, requiring effort, not being able to do something the way that you used to do it, that's what allows for energetic breakthrough, right? That's what allows for the space or place of expansion. But it's not fun breakthrough energy is what I'm getting here. It's not fun breakthrough energy. It's frustrating breakthrough energy, right? It's that type of energy that really kind of requires you to have to like take something apart in order to figure out how to energetically fix something in a way that you haven't before. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that sense or that space of building anew or starting something up again or doing something in a different way, the value that is occurring in this moment is that sense of energetic wisdom and experience. Because for the energy that is used to that type of work, this is the energy that remembers and reaffirms that sense of continually doing something in a different way is endless to a certain extent, right? It doesn't matter how many times you have to rebuild something, because every time you're able to do so, you do so a little bit energetically better. So for a lot of this work right now, this is the energy that is deep within divine union that is coming through. I'm getting here new plans, new prioritizations, letting that kind of create a feeling of transformation. But a lot of that transformation energy I'm getting right now, and we always have to remember this about transformation. We always talk about transformation, like we always talk about like a butterfly. We're like, oh, look how beautiful the butterfly is. But when you think about the work that the butterfly had to do to come out of the cocoon, it's messy, it's gross, it's like a lot of pushing against something. So we see even now, we've been talking about a lot about this, in relationality to the work of the energy deep within divine union right now. Because that ability or that recognition point, we spoke about this yesterday, this feeling of someone on the outside looking in and saying, oh, it must be so easy. Like that sense of doing something hard so well that it feels effortless. This is almost the energy's continual response in saying, oh yes, it's very easy. All it takes is everything, right? Like all it takes is everything. Because this is the energy that when they're prioritizing something, the ability of others not to see what it energetically takes to do so, like that is the gift that we give back. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this work coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that is working on those energetic lessons. These are the energies that are going through, I want to say, a lot of shifts right now in their personal lives, in what they're building with counterpart. Because we see even now that a lot of that energy moving forward right now, and this happens sometimes, moving energetically forward to a certain extent is requiring them to reassess the past. It's requiring them to look back on the past. Because even here, we see that this is the energy that is doing that tenacious work in identifying and recognizing what must change within the self to be able to foster and to build into a deeper energetic commitment or a deeper energetic partnership. That's messy work, right? So for a lot of the energy moving into divine union right now, that messy work of unpacking, right? Unpacking the self, unpacking the trauma, unpacking the experiences that may have resulted in the triggers forming in the first place. What's beautiful about this, and I need to stress this type of messy work, is this isn't the energy that's being messy with each other. This isn't the energy that is being messy with each other by reacting at a moment to like letting their energetic trigger take the wheel or coming into that space of letting an old tendency rise up. This is the energy that is feeling those old tendencies rising up and they're grabbing them and going, nope, here it is. I got it. And this is what I do, right? This is the energy that's recognizing those tendencies within the self. And when we recognize a tendency within ourself, it's like, it's a bit of that, like, it's a conscientious moment of self-awareness, because it allows us an ability to be able to articulate through what we feel inclined to do versus that sense of like what we must do. So we see even now, like this is the energy that is recognizing, the easier said than done quality of coming into a partnership. Because this isn't the energy that just like, and that's what we mean about being able to be our most natural self and being able to see ourselves. These are not the energies that feel like they're moving further away from themselves and coming into divine union. This is the energy that's seeing parts of themselves that they hadn't seen before because of the work that they're doing to facilitate partnership in an energetic connection. And this is the energy saying, it's messy. I haven't done this before. It's messy because I haven't done it before. It's messy because I haven't had someone to do it with before, right? And so we see even now, but this is the energy that's going, should I stop? And the energy is going, no, we keep going. Like we keep going. Now for the energy in separation right now, this is a lot of that energy coming via the point of explanation. And can you see this right now? A lot of this energy right now in separation is in a flux point. There's a lot of energy right now in a flux point. And there's a lot of anxiety for the energy right now, potentially meeting new energetic connections, recognizing and identifying that the energy coming toward them is potentially at a flux point. And what is that flux point that's occurring here? This is the energy articulating, talking through potential past connections or going through argumentation points with past connections. And this is the energy saying, is this something that you're looking to bring back forward? Or are you looking back to make sure that you don't go back? Right? Like there's a lot of that work here that the energy is trying to maintain and recognize, because there's a lot, I need to say this right now, there's a lot of energy in separation, recovering from wounds of energy that said that they were complete. They said that they moved away from something, but instead of saying that they were actually complete and away from something, something was really energetically dormant, right? So we see even now, this is a lot of the energy in separation, being very clear and firm to new energetic connections and saying, look, bear in mind, this is not a momentary situation. This is that I'm getting it even here. The audacity of saying that you're in separation being such that it inclines the fact that you want to energetically go back towards something. So we see even now, like that's the energy saying, no, this is not the separation point that inclines or indicates a desire to go back to something. This is a lot of the energy that's clarifying in separation and saying, these are not situations and circumstances wherein I'm departing from someone hoping that they'll change. Because this is the energy that's moving forward in a healing way. And this is the energy that's in a healing space that's saying that we do not move away from someone for the hope of changing them. We move away from them at a point that we recognize that there's nothing else that can be done in those energetic connections. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is articulating and clarifying that in separation to new counterpart, because this is the energy that's basically saying in separation, rest assured, I'm not in that space of being energetically unhealed where I move away from someone and then just wait it out and hope that they'll change their manifestation goals. This is the energy that says, if I recognize and see something that is not for me, then I continue forward, because it is not the sense or the space of wanting to drag someone into a manifestation goal, but rather that idea or that need to make sure that one feels like you are in alignment such that you're ready to do the work that is required to be able to build forth into energetic connection. Now, our center card for today's spread is one card coming forward, Knight of Swords in its reversal. This is because, do you see this? This is a huge source of fear right now for energy and separation. This is a huge source of fear. There's a lot of this energy right now in separation that has experienced those anxieties or those wounds in relationality to, and I want to describe this, inconsistent energetic connections. What do inconsistent energetic connections? A lot of sorts. What are inconsistent energetic connections? Inconsistent energetic connections are connections that do not stay to maintain to do the work, right? Those are energies that try to move away from something and then return back to it to see if something has changed, right? Like the way you fix something is not by moving away from it. There needs to be a mutual assertion point in recognition to what can be energetically fixed, right? And so we see even now that a lot of that energy is this is like the articulation of the energy in separation, having deep wounds from energy that is flaky, right? Because when we come into that space or that place of trying to heal something, and we see even now that those unbalanced connections, and this is why we have to make sure we have balanced connections. When one person is always trying to do the energetic work and the other person is always energetically departing, that doesn't create for a place of stability. A relationship can exist within it, but it doesn't create a stable energetic relationship. So we see even now that this is the energy that's articulating to the energetic connections that they're building forth with right now and saying, are you strong enough? Do you have the energetic courage to be able to remain within an energetic connection? The difference, as we articulated, that we saw during that eclipse season, the difference between falling in love, being able to feel that momentarily, versus recognizing the work that is done to be able to maintain an energetic standard. So we see even now that even in that expression point, a lot of this energy and separation moving forward, masculine and feminine right now, masculine and feminine in separation, articulating the difference between, again, saying to someone, I did everything I could between moving away from something until I recognized that that was something that I could not return back to because we were not desiring the same things that I thought we were. Versus that energy that's in that modality or in that experience of being able to identify and recognize what those fallibility points were, right? What those anxieties were. And so we see even now, what is the energy coming into divine union doing? They're going through that messy process together. It's not pretty. There are doubts coming to the surface. There are fears, right? This is a lot of that energy that's doing a lot of work, allowing themselves to experience and embody a level of discomfiture that might feel a little bit unnatural, right? Because if this is the energy that is recognizing their own tendencies of moving away from difficult work, but is now sitting through it, right? Instead of reacting to it, like that, that's pushing against the envelope in such a way that it's hard, right? It gets those hackles up, like it creates those moments internally that wants to move you away from something. And what is the energy saying to one another in the process of that? You're safe. You're safe. It's for masculine. It's that conversation of saying your feelings can't energetically hurt you. Just feel them. Allow yourself just to feel those things. Allow yourself just to sit in the space and feel the security and safety of being able to feel those emotions. For feminine, it's building into that point of energetic consistency of the feminine saying it's safe. And this is the feminine healing and saying it's safe to be in the presence of masculine, because this is the masculine that's facilitating an ability to do so. So you see even now that both of these energies coming into divine union may be feeling really triggered. May be feeling really triggered as they go through that process of energetically unpacking some of that trauma of the past. But the ability to navigate through it instead of run away from it is what is articulating the energy that is building forth into divine union right now. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, there's just, I have to say even now, there's just a lot of, I want to say, this is energetic exhaustion to a certain extent that I'm seeing. I'm just recognizing and identifying for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that feeling of not being energetically strong enough, that often comes through. Like a lot of that work that builds tirelessly to a certain extent. And so what's interesting about this is the energy that's like even recognizing their own fears, right? Or their own limitations. And what is the energy within divine union saying? I don't have the luxury of dwelling in that place, right? Like this is the energy that looks at that space of operating or dwelling in the space of your fears as an energetic luxury, right? Because that is the energy that moves forward in such a way. Because when you're prioritizing the higher purpose, the fears of the self feel inconsequential. Continuing to get clarification, and in that modality, like that sense or that space of working tirelessly for one another, this is the energy that supports each other along the way. Next two cards in our 5-card spread for today are, we have here our 8 of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our 6 of Wands in its reversal. So masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union. So much of this work that we're seeing right now, I just want to identify this. It's frustrating energy. I'll put it that way. This is the energy that feels frustrated, right? It feels like there's that modality or that moment of like, and we're gonna talk about this because it's really important. This has been a message that's been coming through over and over again this week. There are some weeks that like just being able to maintain baseline, just being able to maintain that level or degree of balance. It's so vital, it's so critical, it's so necessary, because it's a recognition point of doing that work effectively. That is the energetic priority, right? And so for a lot of that energy, working on that right now, focusing on that balance point, this is the energy that does so and doesn't worry about the other aspects or situations along the way, just building into that sense of easement. And this is how the counterparts support one another. They recognize and identify like where that work needs to go. And they put a lot of that work there. And even when they're having those moments where they doubt themselves or they question their direction, they have that clarification point via the counterpart that allows for that sense or that space of energetic support that basically says, even if others can't see what you're doing, I see what you're doing. Even if you can't see the fact that you're moving towards your space of success, I see the fact that you're moving towards that space of success. So that ability of coming into that modality of supporting one another through circumstances and situations that often feel thankless, right? That is a gift of the energetic counterparts. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, this is the energy coming into divine union that recognizes and identifies that work, right? This is the energy that's doing that work. And what's hard about this is a lot of the energy going through that process of energetic unpacking, right? Articulating upon the doubts and fears instead of reacting to them. Having that modality of reaching deeper levels of vulnerability. A lot of that energy feeling a little bit of uncertainty as they go because they haven't done that before. And what are we seeing though? Even here, this is the energy that doesn't know what will come of it, right? Because when you're doing something for the first time, you don't know if it's going to work or not. But even in that modality of not knowing what comes next, this is the energy that is in the process of a breakthrough. Because if the energy is doing something in a way that they haven't before and they're unsure in relationality as to whether it will work or not, this is the energy that recognizes and says, I'm not doing the thing that I always have done before. So sometimes as we're moving towards our manifestation goals, it can feel very much like we're stumbling around in the dark because we're not sure if the things that we're doing are going to lead us to the space or place that we hope to, but we identify and recognize what are these energies doing right now. They're abandoning the energetic outcome. They're not moving in that space because of some kind of desired possible endpoint. This is the energy that says there's no place I would rather be than doing this messy stuff with you, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, a lot of this energy in separation right now, this is the energy I told you that is I want to say, very wary. I'm going to hear very wary of the difference between someone taking an energetic break versus being in separation. I see even now, there's a lot of anxiety here. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of this articulation of energy here where in separation, building into potential new energetic connections and basically saying to one another as they encounter each other, are you actually committed to the work that it takes to maintain and build an energetic connection, right? Because masculine and feminine right now, these are heavy cards. These are energies in separation that have been wounded by someone who hasn't been able to maintain the balance necessary in order to create a healthy energetic connection, right? While for masculine energy right now, for the masculine energy, that is one of frustration in relationality like if these are experiences in the past where masculine was going through that point of having to navigate with the feminine, that they felt like they could not find that point of easement, right? That feeling that the mark kept being moved, that there was no way to be able to build into something because something was too adaptable or too changeable. This is a lot of the masculine energy that looks towards feminine and says, you seem, and like I see even now, some of the energy saying, you seem like you're coming into that, you seem like you have that consistency point. And because if this is feminine, right? If this is feminine energy that is articulating the fact that they were trying to move in a direction with masculine, but masculine kept making it seem less like a direction that they wanted to go into, but something that they were being pulled towards. Both of these energies now, do you see how so much of this energy right now in separation is basically in the same place? Do you see how they're both navigating those circumstances and they're looking towards one another and they're almost saying, I'm just looking for someone that will make it easy. I can see the energy saying, I'm just looking for someone where we don't have to struggle over the things that we want so that we can do the things we do, right? Like that's absolutely, like there's so much of that energy saying, I don't want to have to struggle over the nuance. I just want to be able to have that consistency there so that we can have those greater breakthroughs. Because, like, I feel like a lot of that energy in separation is saying, I'm tired of arguing with someone as to what the nature of the relationship is. I want to agree upon that so that we can skip to the good part. So we can move to that part of just enjoying it. And that's the energy that says and they're not saying that in such a way of saying I'm not willing to do the work, but this is the energy feeling the frustration of having to explain what that work is to those who might not necessarily recognize that, right? This is the energy seeking the alignment via the energetic counterpart, continuing to get clarification between our Four of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with World card in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is what I even mean right now. I can't even tell you how much of this energy is not, and again, much like the energy deep within divine union, this is energy just not focusing on partnership right now. This is energy not focusing on partnership because this is the energy saying, I've got more important things to navigate, right? Like, this is the energy saying that the ability to have to over concentrate on partnership, it feels like this is why the energy is looking and saying, I'm looking for the partnership that isn't going to create a new energetic partner, like isn't going to create more problems, right? Isn't going to create a greater level or degree of difficulty. But when we say problems, right, and this is the importance of what we identify as a problem, the energy, and this is masculine and feminine, both looking towards one another, trying to come into that space of easement. For feminine, this is the feminine being energetically wary of masculine and saying, I have those experiences. This is feminine saying, I have those experiences of masculine, saying that they desired something energetically ideal with me. But when it came time to put the work in necessary to be able to move towards that ideal, this is the masculine that moved in the opposite direction, right? So this is a lot of the feminine energy saying to masculine, I understand that there are masculine energy that do not have the bravery to stick around to do the work that is necessary to have the manifestation goal that they desire, right? And this is feminine energy. And this is masculine energy saying to feminine, I've experienced those modalities where I have been it has been too hard to be able to navigate with feminine energy, because when feminine energy isn't consistent in relationality to what their manifestation goals are, when the feminine energy cannot stay focused in relationality to building forth in such a way, right? When the feminine energy becomes too volatile, right? Or moves in that space or place of coming into that space of not recognizing their own energetic patterns. That's the masculine that says it becomes too energetically confusing to build forth with feminine, because that's that modality where it feels like every time masculine makes the mark is moved, right? Every time masculine brings the feminine what the feminine desires, the feminine's in a different place. So we see even now that these are the energies in separation articulating through those difficulties and hurdles happening. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, what do we have is happening right now? These are the energies that are coming into divine union that are doing those works, identifying the circumstances within the self that can change, right? In order to facilitate better energetic partnership. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy. It's not easy here. We see this even now. This is feminine energy recognizing those moments within the self, right? These are not energies coming into divine union that are saying it's always you or it's always you. These are the energies that are articulating the difference between what is theirs to change and what is outside of the self. So we see even here, this is feminine saying, I recognize that those moments of volatility can make it hard to be able to be energetically balanced, right? So this is a lot of the feminine energy doing that work inside the self, right? In the process of the masculine, confronting their own energetic fears, confronting their own energetic anxieties, doing that work and facilitating forward, saying to themselves, I'm safe in my own emotions. What occurs in this modality right now? Both of these energies having breakthroughs. But those breakthroughs that they're having via the partnership are starting within the self, right? Both pushing against their own envelopes, but in the sense of doing so, understanding and seeing parts of themselves that they haven't seen before via the counterpart's eyes. While for the energy deep within divine union right now, so much of this work I see is being facilitated in just trying to come into those spaces of balance. I just see a lot of this energy right now doing that work and facilitating forward in that way. And it's hard and it's heavy and it feels like it's ceaseless. But this is the energy that remembers that some days moving an inch is a mile, right? Some days you have to like measure your success or your work by inches, because especially when it feels like there's a lot to do, you don't want to come into that space of feeling overwhelmed by it. You want to appreciate what you've done and continue to give each other that encouragement. Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Swords in its upright in combination with our Knight of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Strength card in its reversal. So, masculine and feminine, deep within divine union right now, there's just a lot of vulnerability here. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of sensitivity. This is like a real Friday of a Friday. This is just an energy, like the ability or the desire just to come into a point of easement right now is very high, because we see even now, this is giving me a lot of the energy where it feels like they're saying it feels like it's taken extra work to even do the small stuff right now. Right? It's like one of those weeks where it's like the smallest thing feels like it's heavy lifting. But I need to stress this. When we have those weeks or those moments when the strongest thing feels like heavy lifting, that's when we recognize and identify that we're getting stronger. And so, that's a lot of that energy that we're seeing right now, particularly and especially for the energy deep within divine union, which is the energy that, again, kind of recognizes and reaffirms to one another and says, regardless of how difficult something is, whatever it takes is what it takes. That's the work and the energy of building into priority. And that's what the energy that is doing right now, that is coming into divine union, right? It's messy stuff. But like I see a lot of that energy in coming into divine union saying it's messy, but I wouldn't desire to be anywhere else than right here. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is a lot of energy that is basically saying to one another in separation, yeah, I was with someone and they departed when something got too messy, right? There's a lot of that energy there that's basically saying that these wounds, right? These wounds that we're recognizing that are being uncovered right now by a lot of these new energetic connections that are forming in separation. This is the energy in separation saying, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for someone that isn't afraid to get their hands dirty, right? I'm looking for someone that knows what work is. I'm looking for someone who understands that to create something beautiful, that the ability, you don't just walk into a castle, you build a castle. If you want a palace, you don't just find a palace, you build a palace. So we see even now a lot of that energy in separation, looking towards one another and saying, are you looking for I almost see the energy saying, I'm not a palace. I see the energy in separation saying this, like almost like diminishing themselves, like trying to make themselves look like almost like less than themselves to a certain extent, right? Because this is the energy that basically says, I'm not looking, I don't want you to build that false impression. I want you to understand that work that we create within ourselves is the work that you create together, right? And so we see that here. We recognize it. We identify it. And this is the energy that is doing that work in facilitating forward in such a way, because they're saying, no, I understand, I recognize the work that it takes to build into a healthy energetic partnership, right? And a lot of that I'm seeing is basically articulating to one another what those experiences were in the past that led them to where they are today. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. I feel like this is, I gotta say, there's a lot of energy in separation that is in separation, like really, I want to say looking for new energetic starts are what I'm seeing here. Like this is just a lot of this energy right now in separation that is building upon that feeling of having that ability of building forth. This is the energy that's really kind of articulating and saying and recognizing to a certain extent and basically, you know, saying very much like that sense or that space of saying, I am recovering from those experiences wherein someone has not had the experience of knowing what it takes to build into the thing that they said that they desired, right? And so the beauty that I'm seeing here is that a lot of the energy in separation is encountering one another in that modality, because a lot of this energy that I'm seeing in separation is moving away from something, and they're basically saying, I'm moving away from a situation not because I couldn't do the work for it, but the energy was basically saying the weight was too much. There was too much energetic weight that was being put on me. I couldn't do the heavy lifting. I wasn't strong enough to keep it up. And what is the catharsis that's happening right now for the energy in separation? A lot of energy in separation is meeting new energetic connections that are saying you recognize that it's not your responsibility to hold up an entire energetic connection on your own. It sounds to me like you're telling me the story that you were holding the roof above someone else's head, and they weren't necessarily helping you with it, right? So there's a lot of that energetic story, like lesson that's coming through here, and a lot of it is coming through via the catharsis in someone articulating and stating everything that they tried to do to keep something from falling down, right? And that is the energy that, again, there's a lot of, I want to say, that's why we see so much of this energy in separation, feeling so frustrated, so vulnerable. This is energy that's walking away from experience, and they're not feeling like it's in a victory walking away. They feel devastated. They feel frustrated. Because that's the energy that almost feels and says, yeah, when I moved my hands away, there was nothing left. I realized I was the only one holding something up, right? So even now, some energy in separation, having that breakthrough via the new energetic connections that they're making along the way. While the energy right now coming into divine union, this is a lot of the energy recognizing, and this is why we talk about that sense or that space of not walking away when things are difficult, right? We don't walk away from energetic problems. Because that sense or space of the energy saying to one another, these are the energies that are feeling that heaviness, right? But what have they effectively said to one another? We're holding this up. We're going to figure out a way to make this energetically work, right? And there's that's anxiety that springs forth in feminine, feeling the fear or the anxiety of the masculine, and saying, what if the masculine changes their mind, right? And what's the masculine saying? What if the feminine doesn't think I'm strong enough, right? So both of these energies feeling that anxiety point, and what do they do in the process? They say it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter because they let go of the energetic outcome. Because what do they say to one another as they do that work? It doesn't matter what happens. There's no place I'd rather be, right? And that's a lot of the energy that we see right now for the energy deep within divine union. Continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Six of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify. Six of Cups in its upright. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, so much of this work that we're seeing right now, for the energy deep within divine union, this is the energy that prioritizes. This is the energy that focuses on that work. And this is the energy that even in the process of doing so, never I even see this even here. Like once you build into that sense or that space of recognizing and identifying that value point, like that work that you do, it doesn't require energetic celebration. When you're in that space, when you recognize and care about something, whatever it takes is what it takes. And so we see even now that so much of that work that is occurring here, deep within divine union, like that is that point. It's like I almost see the energy, looking towards others and feeling frustrations in relationality to where their own prioritization points are. Because even here, so much of that work that we see, it creates that sense of affirmation. While for the energy coming into divine union right now, I see even now like this, I see a lot of energy right now coming into divine union that are like sticking their hands in the mud and just pulling out diamonds. Like, I feel like there's so much that I'm seeing here that they're sticking their hands into the mud and they're pulling out diamonds or pulling out pearls, because this is the energy that is recognizing that when we stick around, when we do that work, when we allow ourselves to get messy, we're able to be held in that space. That when we allow ourselves to stay through something, that space that we create gives us the opportunity to be held. It gives us the opportunity to be embraced. It gives us the opportunity not just to react to what we're experiencing. It gives one another the ability to forge those energetic connections. But we have to move ourselves out of the way of the process of doing so. So what we're effectively seeing to a certain extent is so much of this work is being facilitated in such a way that there's some very foundational healing that's happening right now for a lot of those connections. And it's heavy. Whoop. I apologize. I'm not sure what happened there. Hold on a minute. It's heavy work, but it's important work. Just bear with me a moment and we'll continue. Can bear with me a moment. We're just taking a pause. All right. I apologize for that. I'm just trying to correct this. Sorry about that, my friends. Could you please remove yourself from this, please? Sorry about that. All right, apologies for that. Let's continue. So as we were saying, so for masculine and feminine energy working on this right now, we're seeing that there's a massive amount of healing that's taking place. Now, continuing forward for the energy in separation, what we're effectively seeing is there's a massive amount of new energetic connections that are happening. And one of the things that we're appreciating right now that we're seeing for so much of this energy in separation is articulating upon what one's experienced in the past, going through that journey, speaking out. Like really, I see even now a lot of that conversation in relationality to identifying what one felt like one could change versus what one felt like one could experience or adjust. This is what's allowing for those points of breakthrough, because there's something that's occurring right now in the sharing of those energetic stories that are allowing for that point of they're saying to me, like, clarification, that point of effectively identifying and recognizing that similarity in what one has experienced that reinforces the lessons that you've taken forward from this time. So for a lot of that work that we're seeing here, that ability of doing so, I see a lot of the energy in separation, feeling like there is a bit of this energetic fresh start that's happening. But it's a fresh start potentially around energy that understands and recognizes what that journey has been up until this point. Continuing forward between our World card in its reversal in combination with our Strength card in its reversal, may I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. I'm not surprised to see this card right now because we've got here our Five of Pentacles in its upright. So much of this work that we're seeing right now, it's triggering. It's triggering. It's a lot of abandonment wounds that are rising to the surface. And that's happening across all of the frequencies. A lot of that energetic unpacking. This is a rough trio of cards to see together right now, right? Now, for the energy in separation, working through some of that abandonment wound here, like that's where we're seeing a lot of that work is required, because for a lot of the energy navigating in that space, I just see that there's a lot of energy in separation going through they're saying that self-review, if you will, looking back on energetic experiences, asking oneself, like, if there's something else that could have been done, if there's something else that one would do better now. And so going through that energetic process is valuable and important. And I see that for a lot of the energy right now, what's interesting is I see new connections that are being forged in the process of that unpacking, because that ability of bringing something forward, I even see now, like, there's energy saying, well, maybe I should have done this. Maybe there's something I should have done here. And I even see that those new energetic connections, the thing that I think is important is I almost see the energy saying, I don't see something else that you could have done differently. Like, I see the energy almost saying, I don't see something that you could have changed there, right? Like, this is what we're seeing is happening right now for so much of that energy and separation, that ability to identify and articulate what one wishes one could do differently, but then immediately having that state or space of saying, well, I don't see anything that could have been different. In that moment, this is the energy that starts to recognize that point of healing, like starts to identify that state or space. And I actually see here that there's some energy right now that's feeling that sense of looking at something and saying, I wish that there was something I could have done, and someone else saying to them in separation, it doesn't sound like something that you could have done more of. It sounds like someone let you down, right? Like, I almost see some energy right now having some breakthroughs in separation, because there's a lot of this energy in separation stating and saying, I wish there was something else I could do. And someone else just saying, it doesn't sound like there's anything more you could have done. It sounds like someone let you down. And sometimes it's in that moment, right? Sometimes we need to get into that process of unpacking with someone, right? We have to get into that process of really working through something to have a little bit of that energetic breakthrough. Because I see even now that there's some energy in separation that is looking at something in a way that they haven't before, specifically and particularly by articulating what that is to someone else, that is able to give them a different perspective, or give them a different point of view, or give them a different context. And that can be hard, but it can also be affirming. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, so much of this work that we're seeing right now, this is the energy encountering their own abandonment wounds. This is why there's so much of that discomfort right now for the energy that is coming into divine union. Because the energy coming into divine union right now is feeling like, I want to say, it feels energetically awful, because there's so much of that energy that feels like they're facing so much of their internal fears in the process of building into an energetic connection. But what is the energy saying right now as they confront their fears? When you prioritize the connection, then it's not a question of being afraid. Everything becomes a journey of being brave. So these are the energies that are almost saying to one another, I'm terrified, but I'm going to be brave for you, right? Like, this is the hardest work, but it's the most necessary, because this is the energy that says, it's all right, I'm just terrified. Like, this is literally the energy coming into divine union going, it's fine, I'm just terrified, right? Because this is the energy saying, it's not about me moving in the direction that my fear dictates. It's me remembering what it is that I care about and being able to do the work to maintain it, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our strength and for the energy deep within divine union. This is very similar in that way. The difference here is this is a lot of the energy articulating upon those doubts and fears and feeling the catharsis in understanding that even that is part of the energetic process. Continuing to get clarification between our strength card in its reversal in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. Oh, can I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our King of Swords in its reversal. This is, I want to say, this is, it's a hard day for masculine and a hard day for feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine going through, I want to say a lot of the masculine energy right now is working through their own doubts, their own fears, their own anxieties, doing a lot of that work. And I want to say even now, like, the thing about it is masculine. I see a lot of masculine right now, deep within divine union, feeling some kind of anxiety about being energetically strong enough. And this is the feminine effectively saying to the masculine, it's not your responsibility to be strong, right? This is a lot of the feminine coming towards masculine in that moment and saying, much the same, like your intrinsic value is not conditional on how strong you are, right? While for masculine energy, if this is the feminine that's going through a lot of that work and feeling the anxieties of not being energetically perfect, this is a lot of the masculine energy that says to feminine, you don't have to be perfect to be loved, right? And this is how a lot of that energy is helping one another through those doubts and fears. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, so much of this work that we're seeing right now coming into divine union, this is, I want to say, the reason that this is energetically messy right now is there are some modalities here of those coming into divine union. When you see one's own abandonment wound, it can be, it can be a little devastating to the self, right? Because often you can see those modalities where you let them get the best of you, right? And even there, I need to stress this. If you're going through experiences where you recognize a trigger that used to bother you or used to upset you, being able to see it, that is a gift. Even if it feels devastating, even if it changes your own perspective on things that may have occurred in the past, because that means that you're finally in a space that you're ready to heal something. So I want you to be very kind to yourself if you're going through that process. Because I see even now that for so much of the energy doing that work, that type of unpacking is really hard because, it's in the moment that you recognize something in yourself that you might not have seen before, that you then kind of look back and see it. I see even now, this is the energy that is supporting one another in the process of doing that work, right? Well, masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is the energetic frustration point that may be happening for so much of that energy in separation. Because if there's energy in separation here that is feeling the frustration and saying, I did everything I could do until there was nothing else I could do, and they're feeling that sense of having let someone down in the process, but then someone articulating and saying to them, well, it doesn't sound to me like you did anything wrong. It just sounds like you weren't, it sounds like you were the one doing the heavy lifting, right? Then there's so much of this energy in separation that it's the same exact message that we were getting for the energy deep within divine union, which is basically masculine meeting feminine energy that says, it's not your responsibility to have to be energetically strong all the time. And this is the feminine saying to the masculine saying to the feminine, a good energetic connection doesn't require you to have to be perfect. And so even in that moment, new energetic connections that are being forged and healing that's occurring via the outside connection that is able to provide a deeper level of clarity. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Six of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Chariot in its reversal. So masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. The one thing I want to say that I think is really, there's a lot, I need to stress this. There's a lot of heaviness here for the energy in separation, but there's also, I'm getting a lot of release because there's something that's happening for some of the energy in separation. And this happens too. This is also how we heal. Sometimes we're carrying too much grief, too much guilt on our own person, right? And that weight that we carry, some of it we choose to carry because we say, no, that burden's on me. And sometimes that burden is lifted off of us when we meet the right energetic connection that helps us see that something that we're holding doesn't feel like it's necessary to hold because it wasn't our responsibility to hold it. So we see even now that there's some of that energy here working on that. And this is the energy that's basically saying, it sounds to me like I see these new energetic connections that are forging and that articulation as to what one desires that one could change versus what one has to accept. And it's in that moment that someone says, well, the story you just told me doesn't sound to me like a failure point. It doesn't sound like you're saying to me that, and this is almost feminine saying to masculine, like if you're telling me a story that you said, yeah, no matter how much no matter what I could do, I couldn't keep the ceiling, from coming down, right? And if this is feminine saying, no matter what I did, no matter how much I changed, it felt like I wasn't energetically perfect. There's a lot of this energy in separation that's feeling that affirmation of someone saying, feminine saying to masculine, well, it's not your responsibility to have to raise the roof, to have to hold the roof up all the time. You don't have to be the energetic strong one all the time, right? And this is masculine saying to feminine in separation, well, a good energetic connection It does, like, you shouldn't have to be perfect. Like, we're not perfect. And this is how the energy is recognizing one another, because they're seeing each other in their authenticity, and they're saying to one another in that moment, I feel like you're looking for energetically for forgiveness for something that doesn't require a need to be forgiven for. And there's recognition in that moment when we find alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we see that is occurring right now for the energy coming into divine union is being facilitated and worked upon. This is the energy that is recognizing the difference between what feels like it's easy and what it feels like to be energetically fully invested. Because I see even now that there's so much of this energy. Like, look at all this energy right now here. This is heavy. We've got our 5 of Pentacles in combination with our Chariot in its reversal. There's a lot of identification of limitation moments. And those are either limitation moments in the self or limitation moments found within the self. So that's either recognizing a moment that you're seeing with the same clarity as the energy in separation, saying, there's nothing I could have done about that. That was someone who did not want the same things I wanted. Or these are modalities of someone recognizing and saying, that's something that I can change about myself. I just didn't see it before. Both of those energies, they can feel overwhelming, but then they can feel liberating in the moment that you recognize it, because once you see a problem, you can address it, right? And so a lot of this energy right now is moving into something that feels difficult and pulling out something incredibly valuable along the way. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union, this is giving each other support in those moments. Because I see even now like that. And it is, I want to say it's a more energetically difficult day for masculine energy, because I see a lot of the masculine right now working through that feeling of, they're saying like having to be cared for in a way, trying to navigate something that one can't put strength towards. But that ability of, and even the feminine here, like that feminine energy, doing that work in trying to create perfection. Like, these are the energies that support each other and say, your job isn't to fix everything. What you do is enough. And I see the work you do. And remember that is its own validation. Continuing to get clarification between our 5 of Pentacles in its upright in combination with our King of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with its King of Pentacles and its upright. So particularly by the end of the day, one of the things we're really seeing is, there's energetic stability that's occurring here, right? For both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine energy coming into that frustration point in relationality to their own feeling of working through the fact that they're not energetically perfect. This is masculine that's doing that work to the feminine and basically reaffirming to them and saying, you're like, I think what's really beautiful for a lot of the energy deep within divine union is I'm just seeing that a lot of that energy is saying to themselves, your lack of perfection is perfect to me. Like, this is what the divine masculine energy is saying to divine feminine. You're you're a hot mess. Like, it's, but like in a beautiful way. You know what I mean? Like bless this mess kind of way, right? I mean, because like what I'm also seeing here is for so much of this feminine energy, what we're effectively identifying is that this is the masculine basically saying that even in the messiness that the feminine feels within themselves. This is the masculine saying to the feminine, I find you more beautiful. Like you are like that. That is why we see that sense of the masculine saying to feminine, not only, like, I need to stress this. This is the masculine saying to feminine, not only are you beautiful, but I love you for your mess, right? I love you because of those imperfections. That you're far more beautiful in those spaces that you fret over than you are in the ones that you hold on to. While for feminine to masculine, deep within divine union, this is a lot of the energy of feminine saying to masculine, your inherent, not only is your inherent value not based on your strength, but I find your vulnerability the most beautiful side of you. The thing that you are most vulnerable about, the place that you feel you are weakest, I feel like you are energetically strongest. Your vulnerability is your strength. So we see even now a lot of that energy pouring, but from a place of deep authenticity. Like we show each other the cracks because that's how the light gets in, right? These aren't the energies that put a false front towards one another. These are energies that show each other those vulnerabilities so that they can be reinforced by the energetic counterpart who sees them and loves them regardless. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that's learning to do that. And it's hard. It's difficult. You know, this is feminine energy potentially feeling, and this is a lot of that carryover that we saw yesterday, which is masculine saying, I'm sorry if I'm behind on this. And this is a feminine saying, you're never late. You're always on time. If you're committed to that work, I'm willing to be as patient as it takes because you've prioritized doing it. You're not saying, wait for me to do it. You're saying, I'm doing it right now. And this is the feminine saying, as long as you're doing it right now, I will always be energetically patient. While for masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is a lot of that energy right now, expressing those vulnerabilities to one another, expressing those frustrations, articulating on what they wish they could have done better, and what's happening in the moment that they articulate it. They're getting a new direction. They're getting a new perspective. They're getting a sense of clarity that they may not necessarily have experienced at the time that they were navigating something. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Chariot in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. Look at these two. Look at these two. You see this? End of the day? Like, this is what we're talking about right now. This is the energy in separation. I keep telling you, this is a bunch of energy telling someone having a hard time and saying, okay, I'm going to tell you this story about how I detrimentally failed someone, right? I see some energy here saying, yeah, I'm going to tell you my worst story right now. I'm going to tell you where I let myself down. And what's that energy saying? Masculine saying, yeah, I did everything I could to hold something up and I wasn't strong enough. And this is the feminine that says, well, why was it your responsibility to be the one to do all the holding? Right? And this is feminine energy. Saying to masculine and saying, no, it seemed like everything I was doing, I wasn't energetically perfect. It felt like I felt like they were saying one thing and we were moving in the direction of another. And I started to see that. And even now I'm questioning myself. And this is masculine saying, I don't think you need to question yourself. I think you saw something with complete clarity. It seems to me like this is masculine saying to feminine, like I'm with you on this. Like this is the masculine saying, no, I've got masculine actually saying I can tell you right now, like this is masculine being like, listen, like, oh, I'm looking around this place. Oh yeah, you got a leak over there. Like this is the masculine saying, no, you were right. Like you were right this is masculine going, you're right to call me. You were right to call me. I don't know what that last person was doing. Right? So that's what we see that's effectively happening right now for a lot of the energy in separation. Well, for the energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that is discovering themselves in the process, right? Because this is a lot of masculine coming into divine union right now saying, I've never felt more vulnerable, but I've never felt more supported. Because how can you feel supported if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable? You have to allow someone the opportunity to support you, right? And so this is masculine learning how to do that and being like, I hate it. I hate it. Like, this is masculine going, I hate it, but it's good, right? And this is feminine energy doing that work of the feminine saying, as long as you, as long as you are patient, I will be consistent. As long as you are patient, as long as you are doing that work, I will be constant. No matter what it takes, I will be there, because this is the energy that says, as long as you are prioritizing, you will find reserves in me that you have never experienced before, right? Because this is the energy that says that prioritization point, right, is one that they're both working on it. Masculine working on vulnerability, feminine working on constancy. While for the energy deep within divine union, this is the energy feeling those negative parts of the self rising to the surface. Feminine feeling the frustration of saying, there's too much to do. I can never get everything done. I'm always a bit behind. There's always some kind of other thing I'm not doing. This is the feminine saying, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. And what's masculine saying? You're perfect. You're perfect. The world's just a crazy place. Right? And that's masculine and feminine saying to masculine, deep within divine union. Masculine saying, I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough. And feminine saying, you don't need to be. I can be strong too. Right? This is feminine saying to masculine, when you're not strong, I will be your pillar. That is the gift that we give one another. Final card for today's spread between our King of Pentacles in combination with our High Priestess, and it's upright. One card to clarify, please. Woof! Flying out of the deck, 2 cards transverse. Woo! We've got here our Hermit crab, our Hermit card, our Hermit card in its transverse, and our 10 of Swords in its transverse. So what we're effectively recognizing here is, for masculine and feminine energy, this is the energy giving one another what they need in that moment. Look at that. This is really interesting because both of these cards ended up with their own final card today. And I just want to show them to you. Okay? Because I think it's really important. Look at how masculine is in that modality of not feeling strong enough, right? Not feeling energetically stable, right? When does masculine energy feel stable? When feminine energy says, you're not alone. When you're feeling weak, I'll be your pillar, right? And so that's the masculine getting the reinforcement and remembering that they're not in a space of energetic solitude. The feminine says, I am energetically with you. While for masculine, this is the feminine feeling that sense of disappointing those around them, or feeling like they're disappointing themselves in the process, trying to continually keep up, trying to do everything they can, right? Feminine having that tendency of saying, I'm not serving the energetic world enough. I'm not serving the energetic world enough. There's not enough to do. I need to do more. I need to do more. And this is masculine saying, you're doing just enough. You're doing just fine. Don't worry about don't worry about keeping pace. Set your own energetic pace, right? And this is the feminine that feels the relief and release of being able to put down the energetic burden of feeling the need to try to arrive for, take on more, if you will, right? Bottom of the deck. Well, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy. Do you see this? These are energies coming into divine union right now, and they've got their own homework, right? Look at this, right? And this is feminine talking to their higher self. And this is feminine energy saying, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. When you sweat the small stuff, you miss the big stuff, right? Don't allow, this is feminine's higher self saying as they come into divine union, don't allow that desire for perfection to ruin the energetic moment. What if this is perfect? Is the mantra for the feminine coming into divine union right now. What if this is perfect? And if you say to yourself, but it's not, the feminine goes, but why not? What are you seeking? What is the arrival point through which you'll find satisfaction, right? And so this is a lot of the feminine energy. When we want to build into constancy, we learn contentment, right? When we try to build into constancy, we learn energetic contentment. And that is the contentment of feeling energetically content, regardless of the energy around us, right? So this is a lot of the feminine connecting to their higher self. Masculine, remembering that vital lesson and saying to themselves, if I don't want to feel alone all the time, I have to let someone in. If I want to feel supported, I have to be vulnerable. In order to feel strong, I have to feel weak. So we see even now a lot of that energy doing that work. Now, for the energy in separation, this is the recalibration of some experiences in terms of new energetic connections where you may be receiving a point of insight and saying to themselves, I hadn't considered that before. And this is potentially the masculine in separation, saying that story to the feminine, telling the feminine, I wasn't strong enough. Right? This is the masculine holding all that grief. And then suddenly the feminine says, why was it your responsibility to be the energetic strong one? And suddenly the masculine goes, I hadn't thought of that before. Right? And this is the feminine in separation. And this is the feminine saying, yeah, it just seemed like they kept saying to me that we couldn't do something until something was perfect, that I had to keep waiting, that I was being too impatient, that they just, every time I asked for something, they said that I was making it harder than it needed to be. And this is the masculine saying to feminine, well, it sounds to me if someone was saying that you were making it harder than it needed to be, they didn't want what you were trying to give them. Right? So we see even now a lot of that breakthrough energy occurring. And these are the energies that are building forth into new potential energetic connections and saying, that was a really good, even from point of being like, thank you for that point of view. I hadn't considered it before. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now. Page of Swords. So a lot of that energy today in recognizing potential solutions to things that one hasn't considered via the external outside energy. So we see that even now. There's just so much of this happening here where we're recognizing and identifying someone kind of having that point or just being like, I hadn't thought of it that way. I hadn't seen it that way before. For the energy in separation right now, I just see that a lot of that work is, like that's hard because this is the energy going, well, if I have to see it that way, there's nothing I could have done to control it, right? Like this is the energy that's recognizing that ability to let go of something requires the sense or that space of understanding what is and is not in one's own control. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is a lot of that energy that is recognizing that the work of coming into partnership starts within the self. And for MS, and that's hard, right? That's the energy that's discovering themselves along the ways and seeing things about themselves that they hadn't seen before were it not for the connection to the counterpart. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union, this is just giving each other that support when you need it. This affirmation and that reminder, A life isn't built upon days, it's built upon years and centuries and decades. So sometimes sometimes the best you can do is, if you're having a bad day, remember that it's just a day. Remember that it's just a day. It's just a day in the grand scheme of things. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into private personal readings. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our class last night. It was such a delight to be able to go over the Lover's card with you. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, November 13th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Chariot card. If you would like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is become a paid subscriber to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access and entry into each month's live classes. It will also grant you access to the recordings and course materials for all of our previous classes. So if you were not able to attend the class last night, you still have an opportunity to catch it. It should be up within the next couple of days. You'll also, if you just choose to become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you joined us last night at our class, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next one. And now is a fantastic time to become a subscriber to my Substack, because we've got about a month to go, and there's been about 7 hours worth of material there to catch up on. So if you join now, you'll have a lot of catching up to do. You'll have a full month's worth of classes. It's not necessary to catch up because I'll always be giving recaps, but the information is there for you as you need it. Also, I want to let you know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are classes that are focused on whatever area of personal development or spiritual growth that you are most interested in working on right now. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. If you are interested in becoming a part of my mentorship program, simply go to my website and you can purchase those from a one class or as a monthly class series. So that is 4 45-minute classes, one per week or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, one per week or bi-weekly, again, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your journey. Also, I want to let you know that moderator applications are now open. If you are interested in becoming a moderator for me here on this channel, all you need to do is head over to my Substack. There is an application there, or you can email me directly at graystrega@gmail.com, and we will get you a part of that moderator program. My moderation program offers gift backs for free readings, and I deeply appreciate you as well. And if you are a subscriber here just a reminder that if you become a part of my Substack community, you will also be able to receive a discount on those classes if you head over to my Discord channel. Your special subscriber-only Discord channel, you will find a special coupon code so you can get an additional discount on those classes. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. And we will do this again, I believe, tomorrow. I'm still after confirming the time. Thank you guys so much, and let's get to personal reading.